Good evening. Welcome to the City Commission meeting of November 5th. We'll now begin the meeting. As soon as I find my starting point here. We've called the meeting to order. We can have roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Yes.
Here. Here.
Thank you. We'll begin tonight's meeting with an invocation by Vice Mayor Hay, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag, led by Commissioner Merker. If you'll please rise.
Let us pray. God our Father, giver of life, we entrust the United States of America, state of Florida, and this great city of Boynton Beach to your loving care. You are the rock on which this nation was founded. You alone are the true source of our cherished rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Reclaim this land for your glory and dwell among your people. Send your spirit to touch the hearts of our city leaders. Open our minds to the great worth of human life and the responsibilities that accompany human freedom. Remind your people that true happiness is rooted in seeking and doing your will. We ask it all in your name, and let all God's people say, Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like you all to join me in reading the brand statement. It's time to take a look at Boynton Beach, where recreation is lifestyle. Thank you. We'll have agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Mr. Casello, I believe you wanted to add something?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In the past several weeks, I've gotten quite a few calls for the removing of dead animals and pets in the roadways. And we really don't have a protocol, I found out here in the city or the county. The county has claimed they don't have the money to do it anymore, and we don't have a protocol here set in the city. I'd like to open that for discussion at the next meeting and maybe set some guidelines where we can pick up these unfortunate animals in the roadway before they get smushed all over it.
Okay, we'll have that added to a future agenda.
Thank you.
On the next agenda. Thank you. All the commission okay with that? Okay. Okay, good. Okay, anybody else? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion is unanimous. We'll now go to informal items by members of the City Commission. I guess I'll start with Commissioner Fitzpatrick tonight.
Okay, I went to the Pirates Fest, which was both days, Saturday and Sunday, to see what was going on. It was well attended. It was a good job put on by the CRA, and a credit to the city, and looks like upwards and better for next year. I've also been working on trying to save the 4 acres of lakefront Lake Ida from the county from selling it, and as such I had a meeting with Commissioner Valleche, which was pleasant, but he's mainly says he's going to follow Mayor Abrams' lead. I had a meeting with Mayor Abrams for about a half hour, and he was sounded supportive, and we'll see where it goes from there. I received a letter emailed back from Palm Beach County Manager Weissman on behalf of Commissioner Santa Maria, which basically reiterated that the county plans to sell it, that they have, so basically be taking 4 acres of asset away from Boynton and using it to fund something out west. And we also had a meeting with Rob Robinson, who is Director of Palm Beach County Environmental Resource Management. It was very pleasant. But the bottom line is 4 acres is not enough to be useful for an ERM project, so they're not interested in trying to acquire it. So that's currently where we stand on that, and that's all.
Thank you for the update. Vice Mayor Hay?
I was also at those activities, but I'd like to add I was also at a Chamber of Commerce renaming their lobby in dedication to Anna Theismann Barrett. She was one of the pioneers of the Chamber, and that was a well-attended activity. I also, along with Commissioner Joe Casello, had the opportunity of reading to our kids on this past Saturday. That was a very interesting ordeal. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. Those kids are really something else. I learned a lot about rabbits. That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Merker.
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Casello.
I ditto some of those statements. I also attended a lot of those functions, and I had the rabbit book, and Vice Mayor always gets the good one. He had the frog book, and I'd like to hear him say that ribbity ribbit again. So I heard it
very well.
I heard it about 100 times. So it was enjoyed by all, and it was a great opportunity to get out there and meet the public. And my hat's off to Wally Majors and the Parks and Recreation staff for putting on that. I think that the more we have that, the more we get the public out there, the better the city's going to be for it.
Thank you. I also attended the Pirates Fest and the dedication of the Chamber lobby. Also, myself, Vice Mayor Hay, and Commissioner Casello spent Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in Tampa at the CRA seminar. It was really good. It's a tremendous amount of great information that we received, so I was really glad that we went to and attended it. I want to take a moment tonight to brief my fellow commissioners on a team I've been working on, and I want to tell you tonight so you will have a first-hand knowledge, because I'm going to present it to the League of Cities when we host them on the 24th of November, and basically this is what it is. During my last election, I held a public open house for anyone to come by and discuss issues they felt were important. A young man stopped by and said for him, it was trying to find a job to support himself and his family. He had a wife and 2 young daughters. He had been arrested and spent some time in prison. He had successfully completed his parole, but he could not get anyone to even interview him for a basic job. And while he was in prison, he studied air conditioning repair. He had been applying everywhere and was getting very frustrated. He was not able to get an interview and felt it was because of the fact he had a prior felony on his record. He was concerned that even if he wanted to change his life around, if he did not find a job soon, he might be out of options. After he left, I started thinking, with the current economic conditions, where even college-educated non-felons are having a tough time obtaining employment, I felt he was up against almost insurmountable odds. I thought there must be something I can do to help people who have paid their debt to society, grown and learned from their mistakes, and truly wanted a second chance at a decent life. I did some research and found out that last year, 2012, there were over 2,300 individuals booked into the county jail that had listed Boynton Beach as their home, and approximately 86 a year returned to Boynton after their release from prison. In speaking with the professionals, the ability to obtain stable employment is critical to a successful transition back into the community. If they can get a job, there are benefits in terms of improved public safety, increased productivity, fewer new crime victims, and an improved economic situation for their families as well as the entire community. I recruited several well-known people in the community to assist me in trying to help these people have a second chance at life. We have partnered with the Criminal Justice Commission, the Lord's Place, Gulfstream Goodwill, and the Riviera Beach Justice Service Center, who screen the population for us to ensure that, in their professional opinion, they are ready and serious about turning their life around. We review their record, interview them, and decide if, based on their attitude, goals, and likelihood of success, that we will assist in recommending them for interviews. We also try to find employers in the area who may need the skills that this person may have and provide introductions. We just started this program over the summer, and to date we have successfully placed 3 people with employers. We've interviewed 5 of them so far. The federal government is also providing tax credits and a bonding program to assist in minimizing the risk to employees if they do indeed take a chance and hire these ex-offenders. The bonding program that the federal government gives free to the employer. The federal bonding program is designed to help a job applicant to get and keep a job. The program issues fidelity bonds and is sponsored by the U.S. Department of Labor. A fidelity bond is a business insurance policy that protects the employer in case of any loss of money or property due to employee dishonesty. To be eligible for the bond, the employer must schedule a date to start work. The Employment Service local office then requests the McLaughlin Company in Washington, D.C. to issue the employer a fidelity bond insurance policy covering the worker. After we interview these people, and if we decide as a group, and I've tried to pick people that are well known in the community, and so if an employer would say, well, who's recommending these people, they would know them because they've been involved. I myself as the chair, Kenneth Banks, Vice President, Sylvester Banks Foundation, Jean-Paul Goubray, co-owner of Benvenuto's Restaurant, Carrie Parker Hill, a retired city manager, T. Jackson, the job development coordinator for the Women's Circle, Jim Kidd, the president and CEO of South Tech Academy, Jonathan Porges, president of Boynton Beach Chamber, and Robert Taylor, CFO, retired Bethesda Health Center, and Ray Whiteley, president of Boynton United. These are the people on the team I put together. We call ourselves the Team of Hope. And if we interview these people, we feel like we would be comfortable putting our name on a letter to an employer saying we recommend that they at least give them an interview, that we would stand behind them, and that individual would be given this letter to take to the employer. We also would not hesitate to call the employer, and when we take one of them, each one of us on the team becomes a mentor of that person, and we follow them up. And we tend to follow them for a year or whatever it takes to see how they make, whether they succeed, whether they fail, what they do. So that's a program I've started. The people at the Criminal Justice Commission were thrilled with it. They were saying, oh my God, we could use this help. We're so pleased that your city is going to do this. We hope maybe other cities will take this up. So I'm going to present it at the League of Cities to see if other cities are interested in doing that. I was just touched by this individual. I wish I don't have his name. I hope when this word gets out that he will contact me again. He talked to me for a long time. He has a wife, and I can just see him going home at night, wife and 2 kids. He can't find a job. Once in a while they hire him to cut a little grass somewhere, but he really wants to turn his life around. I was touched by his sincerity, and so that's what gave me the idea. So if he's out there and hears about this, please contact me again, because you're the one that's a start of what we're doing here. That's what I have. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor. Hey.
That's an excellent program. If it were not for the sunshine law and everything, I would be on there with him. But I've talked to at least 2 of these young men, and I do have the name of it. I can't pull it right now, but I'll look through here and give you that name, because I talked with that individual that you're talking about.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, gee, that'd be great.
If you were to talk with these, I talked to at least 2 of them. If you didn't know their background, you would have no clue that they had been in prison or anything. They were very intelligent, articulate. They were able to express themselves, and if I was an employee, I wouldn't hesitate to hire them because of their mannerism, the dedication to their families. They even been to St. John Missionary Baptist Church, and that's where I had the opportunity of meeting this young man that you're talking about. So I support it. Whatever I can do without breaking the sunshine law, I'm willing to do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I just want to make one more point. Everybody that I'm currently dealing with, I'm making sure that they're involved in Boynton Beach. I'm not trying to help people out of our city right now. I hope it spreads, but right now I want to see if it's going to work and if we can make a success. So I'm really only taking people who are some way connected to the city of Boynton Beach.
And Mr. Mayor, if I just may add, I think everyone deserves a second chance. And this is a great opportunity.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, we're going on to announcements, community and special events, and presentations. The first one will be the Boynton Beach Firefighters Benevolent Association and the Boynton Beach Veterans Council are pleased to announce the dedication ceremony for 11th Memorial, November 11th Memorial that will take place at Veterans Memorial Park on December 2013 at 10 a.m. This memorial includes a piece of steel from the World Trade Center and is dedicated to all those who lost their lives as a result of the terrorist attacks in New York City, Arlington, Virginia, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania on September 11, 2001. I didn't know if they... Is that, Ray, would you want to...
Chief? Yeah,
Chief,
sure.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Again, we just want to announce the dedication of the 9/11 Memorial. It'll be on December the 7th at Veterans Memorial Park at 10 a.m. in the morning. That's the day of our holiday parade also, that evening. And I want to remind everybody, this hasn't just been a fire department or firefighters benevolent project. It's been a community project. It started with ex-Commissioner Bill Orlov. It worked its way through many different hands. A lot of letter writing to the New York City Fire Commissioner and the 9/11 Foundation to get a piece of steel from the World Trade Center to become a part of the memorial. We worked with the Veterans Council here in Boynton Beach very closely on the design and the placement of it in the park. Lake Worth Monument has done the work. Our Public Works Department is the only public dollars that were spent on this project. They actually did the foundation for the piece at the park, but everything else is being paid for and was paid for by private donations. So again, we look forward to the public being there. I'll be sending Eleanor an announcement tomorrow to put out on the website for the city, as well as on Twitter, Facebook, whatever all those sites are. And again, we'll have invitations going out to dignitaries as well for their attendance. So I just want to announce that to the public.
Thank you, Chief. We look forward to the ceremony.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is of the Bridges at Boynton Beach Place-Based Initiative being implemented by the Children's Service Council. And giving the presentation is John Bartosek, Chief Communications Officer for the Children's Service Council, Kimberly Bush, Executive Director of Pathways to Prosperity, and Valencia Spells Anderson, a member of the Bridges Mission. Good evening.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'm John Bartusek, Communications Officer at the Children's Services Council, and thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today about the most recent work that we've been doing at our Bridges sites. With me this evening are Kimberly Bush, who is Director of Pathways to Prosperity at Bridges at Boynton Beach, a program of Children's Services Council, and with them also are some of our staff, Tara Hales from Program Director at P2P, Nayeli Martinez, who is a parenting coach at Bridges, Wunolf Estima at Navigator with Bridges, Norris Sanders, Site Administrator at Bridges, and Lanita Garmany, who is our Bridges Program Director at Children's Services Council. We also have Valencia Spells Anderson, who is a member of the community for Boynton at Bridges at Boynton Beach. You all are very familiar, of course, with Bridges and with Children's Services Council, so I'll just briefly remind you that the Boynton Beach site is one of 10 Bridges sites established by Children's Services Council. Before we share with you our most recent research report, I'd like to ask Valencia to talk with you a little bit about her experiences as a Bridges member.
Very good.
Good evening. Bridges came into my life. They were basically coming through my particular neighborhood looking for families in need. I sat down, spoke with them. They were beyond helpful, let me know all the programs that they had that could benefit myself and my children, my husband as well. Their programs are very enriching. They had a reading program over the summer that my children have not stopped engaging since. They've become somewhat of a family to us. Very supportive. They offer counseling services. They've helped with my teen as well. also provided the opportunity for my husband and I to be able to work by providing reduced cost daycare for our daughter. And I don't know that I would be able to be where I am, do what I am, if they had not come into my life. So they have been a blessing, and I am truly grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Valencia. Our latest research project involving the bridges is this in-depth report on the resources available in the bridges communities and neighborhoods. The report is at the census tract level, which is, of course, smaller than a zip code, so it allows all of us working together to really focus our resources where they're needed the most. The report is available on our website, and we're also having additional copies printed to share the information. The website is cscpbc.org for Children's Services Council of Palm Beach County. We also want to update you real quickly on our new reading and literacy campaign that we launched in late September with the Literacy Coalition, based, of course, here in Boynton Beach, and the school district. We thank you for your proclamation in September supporting our Happily Ever After Begins with Reading campaign. We brought some more bookmarks for display racks here in the lobby and for the audience. We also have some new business cards reminding residents of our pbcreads.org website. We're very proud to be participating members with the Boynton Reads program, with the Boynton Reads campaign, and we're pleased with the support we receive from the city and from Boynton Reads. So Kim, Lanita, or I would be happy to respond to any questions that you might have.
Commissioner, have any questions? I don't see any, but I just want to thank you for the work that you do. You fill a much needed purpose in this community, and we thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd just like to say that P2P has really been doing an outstanding job along with the others, but every opportunity I get, I direct people to P2P because of their integrity and their willingness and ability to get the job done. So I'd just like to say, job well done.
Thank you. Okay, the next announcement is that the Lynx of Boynton Beach Golf Course team has won the Palm Beach County Interclub Championship for the third year in a row. And I believe, and I read in the backup, I can't remember, I think it's like 7 or 9 cities involved in that. And our own commissioner, Joe Casella, was on our team that won for Boynton Beach for the third year in a row. Did you want to say anything?
I'd just like to say, this, it's more than a team. We're ambassadors for our city as we go around to different courses and play to different teams. We are out there promoting our city. Our golf course was one of our greatest amenities, and the members of this team here are all outstanding individuals, all great men. A few of them actually are employees at the Lynx themselves, and they're doing a great job where they meet the public every day in promoting our city. So I just like to say thank you for allowing me to be on the team, and you are a bunch of sandbaggers.
Are there other members of the team here?
Yes, we have a little presentation.
Why don't you stand up? You got a presentation? Oh, great. Come on. Come on up.
I'd like to say something if I could, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely.
Mr. Commissioner. There's 11 clubs involved in the county.
11, okay.
11 that they go against. It's 3 years in a running. It's expanding every year. And our team has won it for 3 straight years. And first of all, I'd just like to thank, he don't get enough recognition, but I'd like to recognize Mark Frederick, because the gentleman here actually takes a lot of initiative to help me, through him, to put the team together. Because some of these teams, some of these clubs drop out, and it's tough to get things going every year. It started with 5 clubs, we got 6, now we're up to 11 different clubs. And they do it 2 months in the summertime, and they alternate different golf courses where they go to. And I want to thank Mark personally for putting things together, and I appreciate your help there. And these are the guys. We do have a couple other guys. It's 9 players on the team. One of them is the commissioner here, who's the biggest sandbagger. And, but this is a trophy, and it will be appropriately put in the place in the Boynton Beach in the pro shop, along with the other ones from the previous years. If you'd like to take a picture of the guys, I'd appreciate it, because I'd like to get something put in there.
Do we have someone, a photo photographer? Can we get a picture? Can we get a picture? Thank you.
All right.
Well, you're you're all champions, and I'm proud of the way you represented our city and bringing home the trophy. And I know that you're all champs, so I'd be willing to play any of you if you give me a stroke a hole. Joe, go on down. You're part of the team.
Come on, Joe.
Well, 1 minute. One minute. We got to wait for Joe.
And by the way, the gentleman speaking was Ron Tapper, who did not introduce himself, but he is our golf course manager and has basically replaced Dan, as you know, and
Right.
Ron is he's been with the city and the golf course for I don't even know how many years, a long time, and is doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning it. Thank you again, man. Good job.
Very
Great.
good.
Okay, we'll now move to public audience. Anybody in the audience who would like to address the commission on items not on the agenda may do so at this time. We ask you to come forward and give your name and address for the record and try to make your comments in 3-minute period.
3 minutes? That's not long enough. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Lori Wilkinson. I live at 2458 Southwest Cranbrook Drive, and I'm here tonight, first of all, to say thank you for those of you that helped us out. I know I saw the City Manager, Lori, at the Education and Youth Advisory Board Shredathon. That was October 19th. The board made about $1,100 on that event, even with a little snafu, shall we say, that there was a miscommunication in the time, and the shredding truck arrived about an hour late. So we had some kind of angry people at 9 o'clock, but by 10 o'clock we were flowing and it was awesome, and the board made about $1,100, which will be divided between our community funds, which helps all kinds of kids in the local schools, and also the Bob Barovia Award, which, you know, we present every year to the senior in high school that is going on to college. It's a scholarship award. So that said, as usual, I have to switch hats now. I'm also here representing the Greater Boynton Foundation. I just want to remind everybody, not just the City Commission people and the mayor, but that everybody in the audience is welcome to join us on February 8th for the barrier-free 5K run, walk, wheelchair race kids division. Gets longer and longer every time I say it, doesn't it? That is going to be taking place at the barrier-free park on Congress Avenue. For those of you that are unaware, the word barrier-free in this instance refers to the fact that the park is open to anybody of any ability. All of the playground equipment on there is wheelchair accessible. People with canes or walkers can maneuver everything that's there. So, you know, grandparents can be with their grandchildren, even if they're in a walker or a chair. Children that are in wheelchairs can participate fully in what's going on. And the park is not finished yet. And we need to raise some more funds to get that to its end goal. So that's what we're doing on February 8th. The 5K race is going to take place beginning at the park. It runs through the community of Hunters Run and then back to the starting spot again. And we have some really great sponsors and things already in place. So I hope to see everybody there on February 8th. And I'm sure you'll see my smiling face again a few more times between now and then. So
Very good.
if you go to the website RAPB, that stands for the Realtors Association of Palm Beach, there are main partners in this race, rapb.com, and there's a link there where you can donate to the race or sign up to be a racer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. My name is Ray Whiteley, 7353 Palmdale Drive, Boynton Beach. I just wanted to take a few moments. I'm cutting school tonight, but I had to share this since the mayor and I spoke a little bit earlier today. I just wanted to put a little bit more to what the mayor said. We're absolutely humbled to be a part of the team that the mayor put together. And just to share with you, there was this one gentleman. He had about 4 or 5 degrees, and he couldn't get a job. He's been doing interviews for the last, 4 to 5 years, but no one would give him an opportunity. This team that the mayor put together in this Boynton Beach Team of Hope is a very, very powerful organization. Every day when we meet with people, I'm always humbled to be a part of it. Boynton United, we're burying violence. We may not march anymore, but we're a part of different things to decrease violence in our community. If you could help someone find employment, more likely that person won't have time to commit crime. So, Mayor, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to serve Boynton Beach in another capacity, and you'll be hearing a lot more from us. We are here to help. This isn't for people getting out of jail or those kinds of stuff. We're here to help. So reach out to us, and we'll help as in any way that we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Whiteley, and I appreciate working with you. That you brought another thought to my mind. I wanted to mention that what happens when they go in to fill out for an interview and you fill out the form, there's a block on there that says, have you ever committed a felony? And if you check that block, of course, guess what? Where your application goes? Into the trash can. They don't even, so they can't get interviews. That's the problem. And what's happening, West Palm Beach is the first city now. We brought this out to the attention. West Palm is taking that block off of their applications. Lantana, I understand, has just done that too. That doesn't prevent the interviewer from asking the person, have you ever committed a felony? You can still do that. But at least they get in the door so you can talk to that person. They couldn't even get in the door before. And if you can't put these people to work, they have no other choice but to go back out to crime to get to make a buck. So this is what we're trying to do. So that's it. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing no one else for public audience, we'll go on to administrative. And this is to appoint eligible members of the community to serve on vacant positions on the city advisory boards. And we have the following applicants. First, the Recreation and Parks Board. There's a regular appointment, and Commissioner Fitzpatrick, you have that. And Renee Stern wants to move from alternate to regular.
So moved.
Second.
I have most second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the motion is unanimous. The next one is the Senior Advisory Board. It's a regular appointment that Commissioner Merker have, and Tony Laricca, Lariccia, wants to move from alternate to regular, if you want to make that appointment.
So moved.
Second. I have a most second. All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion thing. There, Commissioner, you have a alternate position, and there's a Janet Harris that is put in for an application. If you want to appoint her to the alternate position.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Most second. All in favor?
Aye.
Show the motion unanimous. Next one is the Veterans Commission. I have that appointment, and Carl Washington wants to move from alternate to regular. I'd like to make that appointment.
Second.
I have most second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion unanimous. That takes care of all those that we have for, and that will move us to consent agenda. Nothing was pulled from the consent. Is there?
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just for FYI, 6I.
Okay.
It's something new that we're trying out at the golf course, and if we could have Ron Tapp come up, just explain it real quickly, so the public will have an understanding what we're trying to do out there, or what you're trying to do out there.
Welcome again. Ron Tapper, Golf Course Manager, Head Pro at the Links of Boynton Beach Golf Course. The proposal is for it's an outside vendor, Golf Pipeline, who helps the course sell under tee times that aren't sold by the course naturally. The golf course has a tee time system called CompuT, who we work with, who we allow 8 days in advance to sell to do our tee time service with all our permit holders and AP, the public, or our Links Club players who are registered in our system, which is probably about 1,000 people that are in our system that are in CompuT. So whatever, they have 8 days in advance to make tee times. So after the 8th day and 7th day of booking tee times, whatever's left on the tee sheet is where Golf Pipeline comes in to help the course sell under times that aren't taken at the current rate of whatever the course is asking. And they just get a 6% commission on that time. We don't barter tee times with them. We're not giving away any free times. They're just selling actual tee times for the price at that time of day that didn't get taken away from people who already had 2 days in advance prior to them to reserve them tee times. They're just added to the golf course. Some golf courses out there now that we're in competition with have 5, 6, 7 other places trying to help them that are really discounting their golf course to nothing for all bargaining chips, and it's just a kill. We're just looking for added help. It's not interfering with any of the people that have in our tea time system. They don't get any commission from them. Our people have 8 days and 7 days to make that tea time.
No, you already got it approved because nobody pulled it from consent, so it was approved at the beginning.
I just wanted that
the information.
Oh,
for information purposes. Thank you, Ron.
thank you, Jim.
Okay, that takes us to 7A.
We did a motion to approve the consent agenda?
We did that with, when we approved the agenda, nobody pulled anything.
Nobody
So
pulled
they came out, nothing approved. Approve the first one-year renewal of piggyback of the office supplies contract number 618000-11-1 between the State of Florida Department of Management Services and Staples Contract and Commercial and Office Depot, Inc., under the same terms, conditions, and pricing for an annual estimate expenditure of $175,000. Is there a motion?
So moved. Okay.
The motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Show the motion unanimous. Item B, 2-year contract for custodial service for the city municipal buildings and facilities to Image Janitorial Services, Inc. of Lake Park, Florida. The estimated annual expenditure is $242,098.44 plus $50,000 for additional services, unscheduled emergency cleanings, and personal background checks for the contractor staff for a total estimated annual expense of $292,098.44. This bid allows for 2 one-year renewals. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
No second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Show the motion unanimous. Approve utilizing the State of Florida Mobile Communication Services contract of wireless data services with Verizon Wireless and cellular phone services with AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon for various city departments. The anticipated annual expense is approximately $140,000. The State of Florida competitive procurement requirements equal or exceed the City of Boynton Beach bid requirements. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Show the motion unanimous. Code compliance and legal settlements. Approve or modify the Code Compliance Board's lien modification order in the case of 09-3230 filed 7/9/13. Is that person here for that? Would you like to come forward if you wanted to say anything?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This property I bought in April of this year. It was vacant for a while and had a lot of code violations. Immediately after buying it, I cleaned up the property within 45 days and applied for a lien reduction. I came before the lien reduction board in late June, and I feel I was kind of penalized for, having this property cleaned up when the bank didn't clean it up and the previous owner didn't clean it up, and I was assessed $3,700 approximately above the administrative costs. So that was my reason for appealing what the committee assessed.
Okay. The board, code board, reduced the fine from $304,230.15 to $3,730.15. And Mr. Sherinsky is requesting further reduction. What is the board's wishes?
Pardon me, Matt?
Go ahead, Commissioner. He corrected all the deficiencies.
So my question would be to the board then, why is he fined? If he did what was called for and he bought the property, why is he fined?
Well, the fines were already there on the property for the previous, before he bought it.
Well,
so when he bought it, so the fines are there, so he's asking, he said, well, I've cleaned everything up, what can I do? The board decided to drop it down to $3,730. The actual cost to the city for the administrative costs, which we usually try to get those back, was $730.15. Anything over that is supplemental. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. What I'm hearing is that he innocently, for whatever reason it is, he bought the property, did what was called for. Was it stated, or your understanding, that whatever costs you were obligated to, was this defined for you?
No, I mean, my understanding was usually if you did what you were supposed to do coming into this situation, that you'd be assessed the administrative costs. So I was surprised when there was additional fines. The bank decided not to clean up anything, and the previous owner didn't do anything. So I figured, you know, if you came in and took care of this property that had been sitting for years, and I have copies of pictures and money that I've spent that I could pass around if you guys want to see. But, you know, I cleaned it up real quick and made it one of the nicest houses in the neighborhood. So I was hoping for, you know, to pay the administrative costs as opposed to being kind of fined and penalized on top of the administrative costs.
Personal opinion, if I feel very strongly that if you did what you were supposed to do, you followed orders, so to speak, then I think that it should be reduced or not at all. I mean, there's no statement saying, hey, I bought a piece of property. In order to buy this piece of property, you have to realize that $3,700 is part or extra to the cost you paid. If that wasn't defined or stated in that way, I sort of lean to your side and say, why should you pay for it?
When they buy the property, they're aware there are liens on it. However, I agree with you that I think that the whole purpose of the code enforcement is to get the place cleaned up. He came in, he did that, and he fixed it. And so I would be okay with the administrative fee of $730.15.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Your house, you're located, it's at, what, Southwest 2nd Avenue and Southwest 1st Avenue?
Oh, yes, 215
Street
Southwest
and Avenue?
First Street, yes.
Yeah, okay. I by coincidence, because of my, a problem with my father's, late father's house, I happened to be at that particular code enforcement meeting. So if you remember, I talked to you afterward and said, contact me, and you never did, but here we are anyway. These right now are being handled case by case, but I think somewhere down the road there should be some sort of guidelines from this commission on how this should be addressed, because, you know, if like he pointed out, he did not cause these problems. I mean, I have no problems, as we've seen in the past, for the banks that have ignored these problems for 4 years of fully assessing them. But he came in from the outside, and he did do the job to put it back on the tax roll. So I agree with the mayor that we should set it at administrative costs.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I too would agree with my fellow comrades here on reducing it to 730. But I just question for staff as to what did you base this on to reduce it down to 3730.15? Is there an ordinance, or there's a practice that we have done in the past that would dictate this direction? How did you arrive at that?
Diane Springer, Code Compliance Coordinator. The board takes each case individually, and they base it on how long it took to come into compliance, the severity of the crime or the violation, the impact it has on the neighborhood, and how long the property owner had the property and took him to come into compliance. But if you read, Mr. Terinsky had other money that he laid out. There were several municipal liens where the city went in and mowed the grass while the bank owned it, and he took care of that. And I believe also water bills. So he did pay the city in addition to
$3,000 in water bills. That's what I
yes.
saw.
So he had other expenses.
Ms. Merker.
I have a question. If this gentleman did what he was supposed to do, and you know he did what he's supposed to do, then I don't understand why he's being fined this amount of money. I mean, I'm listening to you, and what I'm hearing is this gentleman did what was right. It was not his fault that previously ownership did what they did. And what I'm saying, and I'm repeating myself, is when I'm not hearing that it's not defined to the new owner what his responsibility is. dollars are the obvious thing that should be defined, and I hear from him and I hear from you the idea he did it right. So why wasn't it defined? Why wasn't it said that he has this obligation or he doesn't? If you stated that he had this obligation to him, then I find that you should be responsible. But if it was not stated to him, then automatically I don't understand why he is being fined. And I'm sorry for talking in circles, but it makes no sense.
Commissioner, let me respond to that. When he
Please.
purchased the property, he purchased the liens. He purchased it subject to the liens. They may not have been his, it may not have been his fault. When he bought it, when he bid on it to purchase the property, he knew that it had liens on it. That's why he's responsible for the liens as the new property owner.
Pardon me.
And
Then I asked you this question and you gave me another answer. Because I said, did you know that this cost was included? And if I heard properly, you said no.
There was fines associated with the property. The fines were around $300,000. If the fines stayed with the property is assessed for $72,000. The property would be, nobody would pay, and it would be torn down and probably be a vacant lot in the city. So I came in and turned the property back into contributing to the neighborhood and to Boynton Beach. I mean, that's the problem with all the fines, is they build up to hundreds of thousands of
I'm not
dollars.
questioning what you did. What I am questioning is what you know or do not know. The attorney just said that these costs were included and the responsibility of whomever bought this property. So therefore, I ask you the question again. Did you know that this cost was included?
I did know when I bought the property that I was assuming the code violations.
Then I retract what I said before. If you knew it, then it is an obligation and there is no reason to let go of this cost to the city.
Mayor?
Okay, is there a
Can I
motion?
just-
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner
Can I
Casella.
pile on here?
Absolutely.
Our code department is one of the best, and we need a strong code department. I understand that. But as I understand it, there's real no formula on how you determine how you reduce these fines. It's at the discretion of the board that sits in there, and depending on what day it might be or how they're feeling, that's how much you reduce the fine. Or is there a formula that you do use to reduce fines?
No, the state statute says that we have to take each case individually,
So it's at
based
the
on that criteria.
So it's the discretion of the board that
Correct.
particular meeting. Also, the object of the code department is to get compliance. And from all practical purposes, this gentleman has complied. He's put a piece of property otherwise in disrepair and probably would have been bulldozed and knocked down back on our tax rolls. And that he should be commended for. Now, as I understand it, administrative cost doesn't include the actual time that our employee, the city employee, inspector, goes out there and does the inspection, or does that administrative cost include that?
The administrative costs that are certified at the time that we place the lien on the property are for inspections up to that point and filing fees. But the lien reduction process, there are many inspections after that point that are not assessed in that $730.15.
Which is a cost to our city, otherwise sending people out there.
And that's a requirement of the Florida statutes. We're not permitted to include that in our administrative costs.
Correct. So, in my opinion, this gentleman's done everything that was asked of him. He's put a piece of property back on our tax rolls. He's complied with everything he was asked to comply with, and I'd be in favor of administrative
Make a
costs.
motion, make a motion.
I make a motion that the administrative cost.
Motion second, administration's cost of $730.15.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
The motion passes 4-1.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next one is another case of pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 4, Boynton Beach. This applicant filed an appeal to the board. Lien reduction modification base for the appeal is further described in the applicant's correspondence is included in the backup. I believe is this the same individual?
Must not be, just look.
No? Okay, this says
Comes now, Mayor.
Janinski. Mr. Janinski. That's what we just had.
Is that you?
didn't
Good afternoon.
we? Good afternoon.
And we're on 8B. It's,
I believe this is,
Oh, I might be on the wrong one.
yeah. it is
Yeah, I got it right here.
Paul Royf.
Yeah, I'm on 8A still. That's what. Good evening.
Good evening. I believe this is for the property located at 729 Ocean Inlet Drive.
Correct.
My client was the purchaser of this property at a foreclosure auction back in February 16, 2012. My client was unable to obtain possession of the property until June of 2012, as there was a tenant living on the property, and pursuant to the federal law under the Tenants Protecting Foreclosures Act, my client could not take possession until the lease expired. Once the lease expired, my client diligently went in and did the repairs that were necessary to bring the property up to code. There was a $1,000 per day pool violation, which is the main portion of the violation, which cost my client put over $120,000 into the property to bring this property up to compliance. The compliance was because of the lengthy amount of rehab that was necessary for this property. It took my client approximately 6 months to get everything done, and all of the repairs were completed by December 2012. We're here today requesting that we receive a reduction in the fine. My client understands the process, has bought several properties in Boynton Beach, is just simply looking for a reduction in the fine that's been assessed to him.
He spent $120,000, you said something like that?
$120,000 into this property.
To repair it, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
And the original fine was $706,000?
That's correct. There was a lot of damage, and to be frank and candid with the board, the fine has been being assessed for almost 4 years. The property was going through the foreclosure process since, I can tell you,
it's $1,000 a day, which that adds up very quickly.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty high. I've seen 250 a day. Is 1,000 because it was a pool issue, a safety issue?
The unsecured dirty pool.
Yeah, a pool. So there was a safety issue. That's why the $1,000 a day. Trying to get that corrected. But
and the previous owner, the property went into foreclosure back in 2009. My client did not take possession until the middle of 2012, but once he took possession, he did take the necessary measures to rectify the situation.
The code board reduced it down to $70,600. So that's the guy spent 120. He's asking to throw another 70,000 on the table. The administrative costs come to $826.18. What's the board's desires?
Could we hear from Ms. Springer first about the case?
I have it documented here that the case complied on 6/1/13. That was the first time the code office was called to go out and verify compliance. The case itself complied, and then we went back again on 8/1 to do a lien reduction inspection. The code officer found that the self-latching gate to the pool was not secured, and they installed a water heater without a permit, and it took them, we went back again, I'm sorry, on 8/20. The lawn had to be mowed at that time, and there was trash all over the property, and then we went back again on 8/26, and that was when it passed inspection for lien reduction. And
so you don't know the sequence of events that he presented, if that was factual to your knowledge about the lease to the other people and tenants and that sort of thing?
No.
The city doesn't know anything about that.
See if the property was vacant. Have it listed when we cited the property as vacant property.
And at that time it was owned by this, was it Deutsche Bank or something?
Excuse me?
At that time it was owned by Deutsche Bank?
U.S. Bank National.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I really don't see any difference between this one and the one that we just discussed in 8A. This particular one was $706,826 reduced down to $70,600. But the previous, he didn't own the property at that time.
Right.
So when he got it, he fixed it up. He met the code. So it's the same exact scenario. And so it would be in my opinion, we should charge him $826.18.
Can I just ask
Yes,
a question?
Commissioner Casella?
How did we go from $706,000 to $70,000? What was the formula or the reasoning on how you reduced it down to $70,000? That's the question I ask, because it seems to be arbitrary on how we reduce these fines.
We charge
It
10%.
is arbitrary. If you've ever sit on a code enforcement board, it's arbitrary.
Madam?
If I just can remind the commission, Diane's staff level code compliance division, code compliance board, she doesn't partake in that decision making. So one, just remember, don't kill the messenger. But two, it's solely the code board members that will go through a variety of discussions. I don't know, I don't believe they go on any specific formula, but Diane's not part of that actual decision-making process, so it might be difficult for her to answer some of those questions.
Okay, the code department does a great job, and I was just wanted to know if there was a formula or a reasoning on how we get it reduced like that. So it's an arbitrary thing to the board, your code compliance board decides.
Based on the facts that I present. And I believe one of the issues was because when we went back for a lien reduction inspection, the pool was unsecured again.
Okay. I make a second Vice Mayor's motion that we accept the for
I have
administrative
a motion,
fees.
second discussion, Commissioner Merker.
Help. Because I like things defined. And this is not being defined to me. Everything is a question. Originally with that other gentleman, I was in favor of helping. But to me, if something is defined and this is the cost, then you come in with open eyes and open ears and you say, I'm willing to buy something based on this cost. If what I'm saying is accurate and true, then it's black and white. If the value is stated, it's a hypothetical 100,000, he knows there's fines or she knows there's fines, you come in, you buy it on the basis of this is what it cost. Now what I keep hearing is because someone did what he should do, he did it or she did it for the sake of their own property, which to me is common sense. If you own something, you want to clean it up or fix it up. So where I'm totally confused, and I have no definition, is that if you're saying this is the fine, why do you retract the fine? There's no guideline to say, well, if you buy it and you fix it up within a certain period of time, then that is reduced X amount of dollars. And if you do it within this period of time, it should be reduced this amount of money. So basically, all I'm hearing tonight is pending on the heartbeat of the commission on how we feel. It's not a matter of fact or fiction. It's a matter of how we feel because this gentleman or this woman fixed it up. We're in a wonderful mood because who knows, we won the lottery. And I don't like the idea that there's nothing that's defined.
Well, you're correct in what you're saying, but let me tell you, trying to maybe give you an example.
Please do.
Let's say you want to buy a house, and I have a lien on that house you want to buy for $10,000. So if you wanted to buy that house, and you say, well, when the guy goes to the rest of what Mayor Taylor has a $10,000 lien, you got to pay that too.
Mm-hmm.
And you come to me and say, Mr. I know you got a lien, but I would want to buy that house, but the $10,000 is really a burden on me. Is there any way you could take less? Or would you be able to take less? And I say, well,
okay,
I'd like to get some of that lien. I got a lien. I'll take $5,000. And you say, okay, I can live with that.
Okay.
So I'll buy the house and give you the $5,000.
Right.
That's what's happening here. He went and bought this property, and there's his liens on it. And he said, okay, I bought the property. I took care of all the problems that you guys had on it. I fixed it up. It's back on your tax roll. Is there any way you could take less on the lien? He's asking, can we take less on the lien? That's our decision. Do we want to or not? We can say yes or no.
But my question to you is a step before that, is the fact of stating emphatically, indubitably, and definitely, hey, I want to buy this piece of property. If I clean it up and do it within this period of time, will you reduce the lien? Shouldn't it be done ahead of time instead of aftermath? That's the question I have.
No, he's betting on the come. He thought he's going to try after he bought it and say,
to me
we can
then-
say no. He's gambling that we're going to say yes.
Mr. Mayor, can I call the question?
Yes. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
The motion passes 4-1. You're going to have been reduced to $826.18.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would suggest, if at all possible, because of the I don't want to use confusion, but uncertainty, that we take a look at this, the staff, and see if we can't come to some concrete procedure better than what we have. I think it would merit taking a look at to see if we can do a better job with staff and all of us, so that we can do a better job with our citizens.
Well, let me ask this. We're going to be hiring a magistrate. Would he be clarifying some of this for us?
You would have one individual, a lawyer,
Making the decision.
making these decisions rather than a board of Boynton residents.
Okay, so
yeah.
we are moving in that direction. Okay. Okay. Takes us to item 9, proposed ordinance number 13029, first reading, amending the land development regulation, updating the zoning use matrix to include showroom warehouses as a new principal use and provide definition and regulations, and the applicant is city initiated. It was
Motion.
tabled on October 15th. Can I have motion?
Motion to remove from table.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is there a motion on this one?
I need to read the title, Mayor.
Okay.
13029, an ordinance of the City
Ordinance, yeah.
Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 3 Land Development and Regulation with amendments to Chapter 1 General Administration, Article 2 Definitions, Chapter 3 Zoning, Article 4 Use Regulation, Chapter 4 Site Development Standards, Article 5 Minimum Off-Street Parking Requirements, updating the zoning use matrix to include showroom warehouses as a new principal use, including definition and regulations, providing for conflict severability, inclusion, and an effective date.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, discussion? Hearing no discussion, please call the roll.
Ms. Hello,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Merker,
Yes.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Okay. Item 9 is request to be tabled to November 19th. Is there a motion to table?
Motion to table.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Staff would like to request that this item just be removed altogether at this point. To continue to table it, it keeps it
Okay.
an active application. It actually needs some more work, and I spoke with staff today, and I'd like to just remove it altogether,
The
and
correct
it may
motion,
come back
Mr.
in the
Attorney,
future.
correct motion just to remove it?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to remove
Motion
this
to
item?
remove.
Second.
And most second, all in favor?
Aye.
So the motion is unanimous. The city manager report. Discuss parking.
Yes, this,
fee collection and maintenance of Oceanfront Park.
Staff put some information together at the request of Commissioner Merker a few meetings ago regarding maintenance. Maintenance costs, what we're currently spending versus what we've identified as some problem areas in terms of being able to fund additional maintenance. We talked a little bit about, he wanted some information on parking costs and so forth. So this is kind of a memo of information, and Wally and Jeff are both here to answer any questions or take the conversation wherever you would like to.
Mr. Merker.
Simply, Boynton Beach is possibly the biggest asset we have, and it's a matter of what we do with it. We received a letter from the police chief from Ocean Ridge. To me, when you have an asset that is so valuable, let alone so beautiful, that it's a no-brainer. You have to maintain it continuously to attract new people. It's a tourist attraction. So I think that we, the commission, and we, the people of the city of Boynton Beach, should do everything within our powers to maintain it, and not just maintain it. Now that it's truly defined as Boynton Beach, affirmatively, in the books, so to speak, declaratively, then not only should we maintain it, we should also, in the near future, think of ways to improve and add additional assets to the beach, meaning that you have children, you have teenagers, young people, old people going there. I think we, the commission, and the committee, Wally, should think of what other potential assets we can add to the beach that will attract the beach, that will continue for us to have an A+ rating. And I think this is that important today and for the future, and that's it.
Anyone else?
Sure. I'd just like to point out that October 1st began the budget and fiscal year, and that a budget is the roadmap or plan for the year. And there was really no unallocated money in the budget. To fund a new initiative would the funds would have to be robbed from other programs. And I'd just like to point out these kind of switches take a lot of time, of staff time from more productive work. The time to have brought this up was in July during the budget workshops when we were setting the budget. So the second best time to bring this up would be July 2014 for the budget next year.
Can I say something there?
Let him finish.
Okay,
Are you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Let me make something very simple. In my life, I've owned my own business, and I'm sure many of you out there have also. When you own your own business, and this is a business, no matter how you want to look at government, it's a business. What comes forth is an idea, and after the idea is a planning period of time. So when I state what I state as far as improving, adding to the benefit of the city, it's not something that spontaneously do I expect the commission to say yes or no to. But I do believe, like owning your own business, you have to think of the future. When you own your own business, you think of a 3 to 5 year plan from the beginning to see how it progresses each year. This is the same thing. It's your biggest asset you have. I look at it as a business. I look at it as money coming into the city. I don't like to sit on my behind and not think of the present, let alone the future. And that's why I make these declarative statements, emphatic statements saying, we have this asset, we have to think about it. When we put it in place could be a year or two from now. So we must think of the future.
Commissioner.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Commissioner Costello.
Okay. If I may ask, Wally, how much does the parking fees that we now collect at the beach, what kind of revenue does that generate, and is it a positive cash flow?
Sure. For the record, Wally Majors, Recreation and Parks Director. In last fiscal year, 12-13, we generated $361,000, probably a little bit more than that. That was basically based on selling 3,207 resident annual parking permits, 29 non-resident seasonal parking permits, and then we have a few that for people who don't have a vehicle, may rent a vehicle or move down here for part-time. But the total number of permits that we sold was 3,457, and that again generated the $361,000. No, I'm sorry, and the $361,661 also include the money that we generated at the snack bar, which is $21,400.
And just in rough numbers, what would you say it costs us to operate our park?
In rough numbers, approximately $600,000.
So it's a losing proposition as far as capital.
That doesn't include capital. That's just
Right.
operations, which are lifeguards, parking attendants, parks maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I hear the philosophizing, and that's good, but based on the numbers and what was presented to me, we have $58,062 in the budget for parking attendants, and to add 5 hours, which would include 2 attendants, would be another $41,464, which would bring up to $99,526. If you look at the additional revenue that would generate, which would be like $41,000, would be the cost of 2 attendants, and you subtract that from the additional income of $53,300, you're talking $11,836. To me, that's not enough to warrant the negative impact that that would have to go to an addition of 5 hours. I say to do some upgrades over there to make it look a little better, like taking care of the sea grape trees and those kinds of things, and cutting them down and making sure the boardwalk is in order. But I certainly wouldn't want to take away from other park maintenance, because you would have to borrow from Ocean Park maintenance crew to maintain other than vice versa. So at this point, I just would like to just leave it as is and just increase the amenities for the usage in the future. So I don't want to.
I would tell you that I can remember when I think my first beach sticker I bought was either $25 or $30, and we've raised that now twice that I can remember, and we're up to $40, and I'm very appreciative. We use the beach a lot. I like the fact that I think that's reasonable for a whole year for $40. I think we've raised it twice already. I'm against increasing the hours that we check that. I think we go from now 8 to 5 or 8 to 4. Is that correct?
8 to 4.
8 to 4. And people, there's some people like to go before and watch the sun come up. Watch the sunrise. They get there before 8 o'clock, so maybe they can get in without a sticker. And some people may go in the evening and watch the sunset or whatever. Maybe you can't see the sunset, it goes away, but they like to be there in the evening. I think that's a benefit for our residents that we shouldn't take away. So I think I looked at the numbers too. I'm not in favor of adding 2 more employees to the payroll at this time. The money's not there, and it would be at best a break even if 20 people came after that time at night that went in there. So I think I agree with the Vice Mayor. It's a very negative effect. I also agree with Commissioner Fitzpatrick that we need to budget that kind of thing and look at it, because I don't know where the money would come from. It has to be taken away from something else. Although I do agree that it is a treasure for the city. We need to maintain that place. We need to make it look as nice as we can. So we're going to have to look at that and see what we can do in the future, what kind of help we can do. But I think that's something we need to do down the line. I would love to see that. We do have playground equipment there for the youngsters and things like that. So, and also anything we really do to that park in a major way has to be agreed to, I believe, by Ocean Ridge, does it not? I know we wanted to expand the food place there once, and that has to be approved through our inter-city agreements.
Right.
We can't just do it on our own. So, but that's where I'm at. I'm for leaving it as is for now. I like to go over there, maybe watch the sun come up. I have a beach sticker, so it's not a problem. But yes,
I think I'm saying the same thing. The only difference is that I look beyond my nose. In other words, I'm not saying spend more money, I'm saying plan. It's a big difference. By negating and closing the book, it sounds like you're not thinking beyond. I'm saying that since this has become an issue, since the renaming of the beach, then you think of the near future to the future and realize that this asset is something you work upon. I'm not asking to spend more money, I'm asking to plan. 2 different words, 2 different meanings. You plan for the future, that's what I've been saying. That's when I said you open a business. You put X amount of dollars down, and then you plan the next year and the next year. In conclusion, we're all agreeing that if you don't have the money, you don't spend it. But I'm saying you take it to the next step, and with Wally Majors, I'd like your input and your future thoughts as far as when we can move forward for the benefit of the people who live in the city.
Well, he can give you that information forward
Well,
to
that's
you.
a
But we
general,
need to
that's
move
something.
tonight. Yeah. Okay. I don't think we need a kind of motion
Just for
here, do we?
discussion purposes, there was some contemplation regarding the hours that the park is open to. Okay, we're good.
Okay. All right. I don't think we need a motion here. It's just a matter of discussion, right? Okay. That takes us to item 12. on the agenda, which is the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency CRA Board is seeking approval to become a review and recommendation body for projects requiring major site plan approval and properties that are located within the CRA district boundaries. As the major site plan process exists today, the project application within the CRA district boundaries appear before the Planning and Development Board for review and recommendation, then move forward to the City Commission for final site plan approval under public hearing, but do not appear before the CRA Board for review or recommendation. What does the Commission wish to do with this?
Mr. Mayor, if I can just ask a question for my own information. What we're asking here is to eliminate the Planning and Development Board from projects that fall in the CRA district as far as review?
That basically would have that effect.
That's basically what we're talking about here, correct?
Yeah.
This was brought up, I guess, in July of 2011, and that the same idea was shot down then. And correct me if I'm wrong, but during the reading the backup material, I think Mr. Rumpf, the planning and zoning director, was not for that, and I believe, if this backup material, if I'm reading it correct, our own CRA executive director, Vivian Brooks, opposed this transfer. So,
Mr. Buchanan here, I know that's an issue for you. Would you like to discuss it? Would you like to make comments?
Yes, the situation is this, and I don't believe that the director is against that at this time. There are several important reasons for the CRA board to approve the projects. The first one is money. The CRA controls purse strings in various ways. Some for big projects like TIF and things like that. That's probably not that much of an issue. But the CRA is composed of many small properties. If you look at Ocean Avenue, it's almost a blank slate. You're not going to look at giant projects going there for the most part. North Federal Highway, which we hope will develop sometime once again, you have small pieces of property. The way the situation is right now, in essence, you can have a carrot and you can have a stick. The stick has been taken away from the CRA. We have design guidelines specific to the CRA, and since we've had this originally, when the City Commission first hired a CRA director and turned over CRA authority to an independent board, that board approved projects, and I'm in favor of is a return to that same process, because right now somebody could come into the city and say, I want to do a project, not even talk to the CRA board, and not even talk to the CRA staff, excuse me, and proceed. They can go ahead and file all their paperwork, take it through the city, take it through Planning and Development Board. Planning and Development Board looks at things on the basis of does it fit code, and doesn't necessarily take into account, nor should they, the CRA design guidelines and philosophies. And we're going to have more of these special districts as time goes on. Vivian's talked about creating a cottage district and things like that. So and there are examples of how the process is now, it's the old story of a horse designed by a committee is a camel. Well, this process to me is kind of like a camel, and I like to get back to a horse. And we have not, as it stands, in my opinion, this has not been a successful endeavor. A couple of examples. One a few years older is the very property in which the CRA is housed. Before that property was rebuilt, it actually met some of the CRA design guidelines. Now, it was falling down, and it wasn't in good shape. But one of the CRA design guidelines, for instance, is a peaked roof, hip or gable or whatever, not flat roof. That property originally had that. And had that property had to be approved by the CRA board that looks at other things, it would not look as it does today, which is kind of like a franchise somewhere between Dunkin' Donuts and Steak and Shake. Now, they're known for good donuts and good shakes, but not for great architecture. And also in that same property, that could have been designed so there were lots of vegetation, disguising a lot of the parking lot. There could have been trellises, things like that, which the CRA board used to request of developers back when the CRA board had the authority. So, so you have the appearance and you have the money. Now, if somebody, like say on the big projects with the TIF and all that, that's not that big a problem. But if, say you're putting up a small building, or you're redeveloping a small building, and you're eligible for some of the CRA grants, you know, facade grants, whatever. If you decide, well, you know what, the CRA design guidelines are going to make this too tough, I'll just blow that off and I'll get another $15,000 in mortgage or whatever. Then in the CRA, you have a structure that does not meet the CRA design guidelines. And so, and another example of that just recently was the property on Federal Highway that was, I can't think, it was a restaurant there, it had the big tiki hut attached to it, all kinds of problems, and now it's a paint store. That project was approved by the Planning and Development Board because it met code, but when it went before the CRA board said, well, wait a minute, it doesn't meet design guidelines, and so we're not going to approve it for any kind of money. In this case, the owner decided that the money was worth it, going back to do a redesign, and there came up a design more agreeable to the CRA board, and he got his money. So those are just a couple of examples of how it doesn't work. And this time, as Boynton starts to explode, and we have more and more properties being developed, small properties as well as large properties, the CRA needs to have the hand on that to ensure that the CRA is being developed according to our master plan, according to all the things we want to see done. And that's my feeling on it.
Thank you.
And one last thing, as far as additional staff time, it really isn't there because city staff still does all the project approval and that, but instead of bringing it to Planning Development Board, they take it to the CRA board. And so the only time would require extra time is if it didn't meet CRA guidelines and we send it back. But that's a good thing in that case and well-spent money. So that's why I think it's imperative that this change be made. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Vice Mayor Hay.
In all due respect, I hear what Board Member Buck Buchanan is saying, but I think we also have a technical advisory group that meet initially, and all the players should be at the table. I would say that if CRA is not there, they should be there, so that any issues that come up would be addressed at that time. I don't want to see another layer of bureaucracy. We need consistency in the city as far as meeting our codes as they are written, and I think that's the P&D responsibility, to make sure that we're consistent. I think that it's going to be double work as I see it for the CRA staff, and I also see the same people that's on the CRA board, except for two, are the same people that sits on this commission. And so you end up having, how would you put it, a duplication of opinions, which is unnecessary. I think if we go to another independent board were to be established, then we could revisit this idea I just feel that when I ran for office, one of the things that I ran on was this concept of a collaboration initiative, meaning that you bring the city, the CRA, and the Chamber of Commerce all to the table. Because you know that my philosophy is that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And I think that CRA need to be at the table up front, not at the end. So I think a simple solution of getting CRA as part of this technical advisory group would be part of the solution. That's the way I feel right now.
Mr. Buchanan, we're not going to get into that. We underheard your concerns. You've had your say.
Okay,
Now I'm going to hear the others, but I don't want to get a back and forth dialogue going.
Mr.
That's
Mayor?
not- Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Mike?
Oh.
Mr. Patrick?
After you. No, okay.
I was just, can we have the director of the CRA, Ms. Brooks, if she'd like to weigh in on this?
Vivian Brooks, Executive Director. I have worked under both systems, and there's pros and cons. And some of what Board Member Buchanan said is true. We can't catch a lot of these projects. We do we do review the projects, but some of our comments are not code related, so they cannot be enforced. So that's an issue. So if CRA wants something that is not code related, it's not enforceable, just so you know. But it might be in our design guidelines, but it is not in code. So just so you understand some of the differences, what he's talking about. When you give money to a project, they may have already come through site plan, and then they come to you for money as a CRA board. Now, how do you hold your feet to the fire to have a better project? And sometimes you might want a better project because you're giving them money. So that's some of the cons of not sitting as the legal body looking at the project. You're the sum of the same people, but you're not the legal body. And I think there's a differentiation that Jim could probably back me up on there when you're looking at the project in that viewpoint. One of the workarounds could be, and Lori and I talked about this today, our design guidelines are old. They don't address everything. There's some inconsistencies between our code and our design guidelines that need to be addressed. We are going to be having a town square planning session with all of you where perhaps we can get nailed down with the CRA board some styles and color palettes that we could apply to projects. I think that would be helpful with the help of Treasure Coast urban designers. Then that could be relayed if you do not want to go the other route of having the CRA board act as the quasi-judicial planning and development board. Then we would have some training session with the P&D board on those design guidelines once they are consistent with code. And that may be the way to go, because right now we have design guidelines over here that have no teeth. We have money over here for incentives that we have no way to have teeth to enforce the designs we want. So we have some disconnects, quite frankly, is what's happening.
Could I not ask a follow-up question?
Wait a minute. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Could these not be handled by conditions of approval? What you were just talking about?
They could be handled by conditions of approval, but not from the staff level. We don't have that authority. You have that authority.
Who sets those conditions of approval?
Well, they're recommendations, but the recommendations have to come with you based upon some code provision. You cannot make a condition of approval that does not have a basis in the code. That would be an extraction that's not code-based. So that's not appropriate or proper.
Although developers sometimes have agreed to them.
Mayor, now I think, could we not
been done
also
every day.
adopt potential future guidelines into our code to make it an enforceable, consideration, so when planning staff with the city's going through those things, the teeth
other
are
cities do,
there,
yes,
and then
absolutely.
P&D is schooled on it, and
Right.
it becomes...
Right.
I'd like to offer a suggestion. I believe, the design guidelines, like you say, haven't been updated and God knows when. They're very general. There's nothing specific. And I think this might address some of Mr. Buchanan's concerns. I would suggest that the CRA board have a workshop and get into this and establish some guidelines and et cetera. And then when we get this down in print, we can either adopt it into our code requirements or at least have the Planning and Zoning Board a copy so they know what those are. I don't think at this point they have no idea what the guidelines of the CRA are. So I would suggest maybe a workshop where we can to get into this deeper and iron it out. That's my suggestion, Commissioner.
I basically agree with the mayor. The part that I think is also important is, as Vice Mayor said, that the CRA and obviously the Commission are basically the same group except for two citizens. The idea that we have two citizens on the CRA, I think is excellent. And I also like the idea that the P&D board is the citizens. So I agree, going back to the mayor, is I think I'd like to, if I could say table it, or at the next session, is have more of a meeting of the minds so we can integrate and have all sides working together. And that's what I question. I like the idea of the P&D board because they're the people. They're not the elected people. The CRA is a combination of both, and the commission is all elected. So I think all three working together, I think we can come up with the best solution. And as going back to what the mayor said, is let's add and subtract and make it work.
Well, just to remind everyone, in the strategic plan, the updating of the design guidelines is one of our jobs to do. So just to remind everybody.
Patrick.
Well, most of my questions have sort of been answered. I was going to ask Nancy Byrne how much daylight there is between the development guidelines and code, and I guess nobody really, I'm getting the impression it's pretty much nobody really knows, so they need to be updated.
Yeah, you'd have to go line by line, page by page, but, like sidewalk width, things like that. There's some differences, minor, but it's not a huge deal to update them. We have, I think that's something that Treasury Coast can do for us. We have the document and,
Well, my question in general is how much should these guidelines vary from the rest of the city? Is there, if the CRA is a separate area, how much is it like, when you say sidewalks, are the sidewalks going to be 5 feet in the rest of the city and 8 feet in the CRA? Is that, a valid thing to do?
typically they're bigger in a downtown, yeah, for outdoor dining and stuff, yeah.
Good evening, Commissioner. Nancy Byrne, Director of Development. You're making a very good point, and I guess I just want to make a little bit of clarification on some of what Board Member Buchanan was addressing to the Commission. The approvals that he's talking about are minor modifications. They do not go in front of the Planning and Development Board. Those guidelines are reviewed by staff. They're one of the fastest turnarounds that we do in the city because they're mostly facade changes. We do not make owners of buildings come through the board for facade changes. Now, we certainly can if you want to, but that will take what is now a 2-week process and turn it into a 90-day process. We'll do whatever your direction is. And again, with the design guidelines, we're very happy to apply those, but I will tell you that Mike and I had a conversation in the back that a lot of times what will happen is, the example that he just gave me, is a building will put new air conditioning units on. Well, the codes have changed. So the air conditioning units now have to be on a stand. Under the current code, now the roof has to be wrapped to shield those air conditioning units from view. If you apply the full level of the design guidelines, you've now increased the cost double or more of what just the replacement of the air conditioning units would be. So I appreciate where you're going, and staff will follow whatever direction you want, but I caution you that you may have a reverse effect of disincentivizing construction in the CRA if you make it more onerous than development and construction throughout the city. As far as color design lines go through, we'll bring Mike up here, and he's done that research for prior commissions. It's a very difficult code to manage. You need very specialty staff that understands the colors that you're putting through on the palette. You need urban designers. We'll go in any direction you like, but that may be a next year budget discussion above and beyond the design standards. I just want to caution you that, yes, Commissioner Fitzpatrick, you are correct. If I'm a developer and I'm coming to the city and I'm looking at the CRA and all of a sudden I have to follow a different set of design guidelines and a different set of review standards than I do anywhere else in the city, I'm going to think twice about that.
I have one other question. As CR Director Brooks pointed out, the site plan approval is the major carrot or stick, whatever you want to call it. So there might be something there of changing that around a little bit so
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think the problem that you've run into from the CRA standpoint is developers don't come in and request that TIF money until they've gone through the site plan process. So they haven't even approached the CRA to ask for it. You don't know as the CRA that you're going to be requested for that. So they're already through the gate on their site plan. I mean, we've had several developers do that. I don't know how we hold their feet to the fire and say, do you want the money? Do you want the money? We have to keep asking that as they're coming through the site plan process to go, if you want the money, then you got to go through this other process. This other board wants to look at you. Again, I'm not sure how you force a developer into that box. It would be nice and neat.
Can I just let's get back to the air conditioning scenario.
Yes.
I can understand that. So, two different codes. I mean, you have to put it on stands and have a wraparound facade so you can't see it. And in the CRA district, you wouldn't have to do that.
No, by the design guidelines in the CRA district, as soon as you mounted them, they have to be screened.
Okay.
So if you take what would normally be a minor, actually a building permit that, you know, planning and zoning could look
So
at
it's
and then
two
apply
different
that.
standards.
Right. You know, it's how much you decide what you want the design to look like, and then we will impose it. You tell us what it is. You tell us what it is, and we will make that standard be the standard. But I will tell you that staff has been pretty lenient with some of the businesses that are improving along Federal Highway, which I'm sure is what you've seen, because when they come in to do that improvement on the air conditioner, we don't look at them and go, you need to spend another twice amount to do this screening. We've let them do the facade improvements. We have followed the color and some of the design lines on that, but if it's going to be a total imposition, then we don't do it. It's kind of like when you come in to do a minor site plan modification, we don't make you bring all the landscaping up to current code because you came in to paint the building. You know, that's how I kind of equate it. We don't open the book on you the moment you walk in to do one minor improvement on your site.
And I'm in agreement because we have a lot of old buildings that are in very poor shape, and I don't think you're going to, and I've said this at our meeting before, I would not ever recommend that we take somebody and hold their feet to the fire to the umpteenth letter of a design guideline, because we don't have enough money in our incentives, and they wouldn't have enough money. If somebody comes in and wants to paint it and, you know, fix it up to the best of their ability and open the doors on a vacant building, I think we have to support that. It's what I call an interim use, and I think we have to have some leeway in there to do that, because you're going to have those transition buildings in a redevelopment area. It's pretty normal, and we shouldn't hold people, like Nancy said, we shouldn't hold their feet to the fire. It's not going to be possible on every building.
Could the commission pull this off the agenda until we workshop at some point? Would that be good?
Good idea. Good idea.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
The most second, all in favor?
Aye.
So motion unanimous. Thank you. That takes us to number 13, legal. The attorney, I'll let him read the ordinance.
Ordinance 13030, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 5 of the Code of Ordinances, entitled Code Compliance Board, to provide for the use of a special magistrate for code compliance and enforcement matters, to change reference to special master from special master to special magistrate, such that the city's code is consistent with Florida statutes, and to clarify the amount of time the City Commission has to object to lien modification orders, providing for codification, severability, and an effective date.
This is proposed ordinance 13-030 on second reading and public hearing. Does anybody in the public wish to address this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll return to the commission for a motion.
So moved.
Second. I have most second. Discussion?
Just getting back to what we had talked about earlier about the fines and codes, I'd like to have some type of idea or a formula on how we reduce fines and what that formula is. Is it so it's a standard for everybody that goes in there that either has a fine reduced or not. I don't want it to be arbitrary where, you know, if the magistrate's having a good day and then he reduces it, if he's having a bad day, he doesn't reduce it. So that's the only question I have, and whether we have a board, code board, compliance board, or we have a magistrate, you know, I just like to know how that is figured out.
Commissioner Merker.
First of all, when you have a magistrate, you have an attorney, and his moods don't make him make a decision of the law. The law is the law, and he interprets the law. That's one of the reasons you have a magistrate, because he's a professional at what he does. He's not a lay person who wakes up one morning and thinks this or the next. A lawyer is a lawyer, and it's a profession that should be respected. Hopefully, this will reduce the time frame, define things more specifically, and make it a lot easier for everybody.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to request the city attorney give us some opinion on this.
We will do that in conjunction with the magistrate coming on. It's not easy to set specific parameters from the commission to the magistrate, because that violates the underlying statutory requirements that there be a factual determination and a number of factors be taken into consideration. And those kind of factors, some of them you heard tonight and some of them you didn't hear tonight, and that's what a magistrate would hear. That's part of the presentation that staff makes to the board now. I guess what you've seen churn out looks like some kind of formula, maybe 1% of the outstanding amount. So that does look like some kind of consistency. But we'll work with staff to make sure that the presentations to the magistrate churn out something that is consistent and not arbitrary.
That was the word I was looking for, consistency. Thank you.
I'll tell you, I have sat on the code enforcement board in the past, and it's very difficult to write rules that fit every circumstance, to come up with a thing that this is how it's going to be, because every circumstance varies, so that's why it's so
well, one of the circumstances that varies tremendously, like the cases you heard tonight, are people that come in and speculate on property to flip it. You don't know what they spent out of pocket in total between purchase price and repair cost. You also don't know what they're going to sell the property for. So you don't know whether that, you know, your lien has a big difference or a little difference, or whether you could take a bigger piece of it and it's still a good deal for that investor. So that's the type of thing that we'll work with staff to see if we could bring that type of fact in front of the magistrate, so the magistrate sees, you know, what the reduction should be when it's appropriate.
Yes, Jim, my question to you, is it a question of concern for us we want everybody who goes into business or does whatever they do to come out on a positive note, but I don't think it's the concern of the commission to look at whether or not the gentleman or the woman buying that piece of property, it should be defined what they're paying, and if they consent to that, then that's what it is. And that's, to me, really what we're supposed to do. You as an attorney know this better than anybody. The law is the law, the numbers are the numbers, and if a person walks into something saying, I want to spend $1,000 for that computer, that's the cost if he consents to it. He writes the check, it's done, sealed.
Well, I'm sure at least one of the, if not both of the people that appear before the commission tonight took a look at the history of lien reduction here, and you know,
so it's a loophole.
Took the risk that they would
it's a loophole.
that it would be reduced.
It's like a loophole. That's why I'm saying, you know, if the code board says this is the cost, and they buy the property, they obviously know what they're buying. It's not like there's a hidden cost.
We'll work with staff and make certain that the proper case gets presented to the new magistrate if you approve this.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mayor Taylor?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hay?
Aye.
Commissioner Merker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Aye.
Proposed ordinance number 032 on first reading.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 26, Water, Sewer, and City Utilities, Article 4 and 5 pursuant to Chapter 62555 of the Florida Administrative Code and the Florida Plumbing Code which regulate backflow prevention and oil and grease management programs, providing for conflict severability, codification, and an effective date.
Ordinance 032 on first reading. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion is second. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Aye.
Yes.
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 Aye. Item C, proposed resolution number R13-126, approve the one-year renewal to the towing franchise agreement with Beck's Towing and Recovery, Inc. and Zucala Wrecker Service, Inc. under the same terms and conditions, but with the annual franchise fee of $95,000 for each vendor, and to authorize the city manager to execute the renewal agreement. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Anybody in the public wish to address this resolution?
David Flooring, 417 Northeast 6th Avenue, Boynton Beach, Florida. And I'm also here representing my corporation, Eastern Auto Body and Eastern Towing and Recovery. I want to start out by saying that when this contract was drafted back in late 9 and 2010, when Mayor Rodriguez was here and the other commissioners that are all gone now, other than Mr. Hay, I had pointed out the potential criminal activity and corruption involved with this type of towing contract. Since then, obviously the mayor's been arrested and jailed. Several commissioners resigned. And Vincent Guerrera of Collision World has been arrested several times for impersonating an insurance adjuster while handling cars that were involved in crashes and delivered to his shop by your towing company franchise holders. The whole purpose of the franchise fee to them is to sell these jobs to the body shops, the pain clinics, the attorneys, the PIP fraud, all of that. And that's the only way that they can afford to pay these exorbitant franchise fees. There's no way they can legally bill the customers per the county regulated rates to pay these fees. So I'm against any renewal of this, obviously, and I think that this city, up until now, these commissioners, they weren't a part of the past contract, and they can't really be held accountable, I guess you could say. But for you to approve this contract, you're just, again, becoming part and parcel to an organized scheme to defraud the motoring public. And basically little old ladies from Hunter's Run, Leisureville, that get taken advantage of. And I'm glad to see Mr. Beck and Mr. Zucala are here tonight, because I'm publicly calling you guys crooks. Please sue me. You got plenty of witnesses here. Sue me. It worked so well for Mr. Rodriguez. So, if anything, I would not reduce the franchise fee. There's been a cost of living associated with the towing costs in the Palm Beach County ordinance. I would raise it 10%. I wouldn't cut them any slack. You're already ripping everybody off. Why would you stop now? Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to address this resolution? Seeing none, I'll return to the commission for discussion. Commissioner Merck.
Mr. Attorney? Mr. Attorney? I heard several times in this gentleman's verbiage, illegal, crooked, etc., etc., and he made reference to, other than Vice Mayor Hay, and as far as I know, he's as clean as a whistle. So I would like, so I can stay clean as a whistle, would you please define or state, is there anything illegal by personally me, I'll only speak for myself, voting yes for this? Because I don't want to do something illegal. So is it illegal?
It is not illegal for you to vote yes on this subject matter.
Thank you very much.
Any other discussion?
I just want to make one statement. Mr. Fleury, I don't know you personally, and I had no dealings with you, but to come into this chamber and call people crooks with no documentation other than what you hearsay, let me finish here. I find it offensive, and I don't appreciate it. If you have issues and these people have done something illegal, then you should take it to the state attorney, not here in this chamber. Well, and they've done something. Well, they don't seem to be in jail, these two gentlemen. Thank you.
Else, any other discussion? Yeah, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
During the budget, I brought up about this franchise fee because I don't think it's good economic policy that it reduces competition, so it's not very, it's against the tenets of capitalism. So I would have preferred not to have it in the budget. However, I kind of lost that vote and it got put in the budget, so to me this was decided when it passed the budget. So I will bring it up again next year that this is the wrong kind of way to collect money for the city, and we'll see how it goes. But as of now, it would leave a $200,000 hole in the budget not to pass it.
City Manager?
When you mentioned competition, Commissioner, the Palm Beach County towing ordinance that is overseen by the community, the Division of Community Affairs of Palm Beach County, or Consumer Affairs, they set fixed rates on the towing. So as far as eliminating a competitive factor, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. It's allowing, the two businesses that we are in contract with now are long-term, long-standing businesses that have been in the city for 25, 30 years probably. So, I just want the commission to understand the rates are fixed, so they can't, it's not competitive from that standpoint in terms of what can be charged. Now, the issues with body work and so forth, that's a little bit different, but the crux of the service that's provided on county, for the city is regulated by county contract, or county ordinance, excuse me.
Well, I just believe that, you got to give the hungry new guy a chance, and this keeps them out of the picture, and I think that's, the best way to keep prices down and have a fair product is if, as many people as possible can make the upfront fee to participate.
Any other discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion is unanimous. That takes us to our brand promise statement on the end of your agenda. I don't know what's up there. Let's read the one up there.
Catch your fish.
Catch your breath. Breathe into Boynton Beach, America's gateway to the Gulf Stream. Stand adjourned.